For 18 years, a mysterious figure moved silently across the windswept shores of San Nicolas Island, completely alone, her existence unknown to the outside world. She was the last of her people, surviving in isolation while the rest of her tribe had vanished. No one knew she was there until a fateful day in 1853 when a group of hunters set foot on the island. What they discovered would shock them. A woman, alive and thriving in a place long abandoned, her story, one of haunting solitude and survival against impossible odds. San Nicolas Island, located about 60 miles off the coast of Southern California, was home to the Nicoleño people for thousands of years. The Nicoleño people, like other indigenous groups in California, relied on the island's natural resources to sustain themselves. They lived in villages scattered across the island, fishing, hunting seals, gathering shellfish, and harvesting native plants. Archaeological finds have shown that the Nicoleño crafted sophisticated tools from bones, shells, and stones, and they also created beautifully intricate woven baskets and other artifacts from the materials available to them. The island, though isolated, was rich in resources, which allowed the Nicoleño to thrive in relative peace for centuries. However, the arrival of European explorers and traders in the 18th and 19th centuries brought dramatic changes. Russian and Aleutian fur traders began frequenting the waters around San Nicolas Island in search of sea otters, whose thick pelts were highly valued in the fur trade. The traders' presence, along with their demands on local resources, eventually led to conflict with the island's indigenous people. The first recorded contact between the Nicoleño and outsiders occurred in the early 1800s when Russian and Aleut fur traders, operating under the Russian-American Company, began hunting sea otters in the Channel Islands. The hunters depleted the otter population and, in the process, clashed with the Nicoleño. Tensions escalated, resulting in violent confrontations. These conflicts, combined with the introduction of diseases brought by the traders, devastated the Nicoleño population. By the 1830s, the once thriving community had been reduced to fewer than 100 individuals. In 1835, the Catholic missions in California, under the guidance of Father Joseph González Rubio, decided to relocate the remaining Nicoleño people to the mainland. This decision was part of a broader pattern of missionary efforts to convert and civilize indigenous groups throughout California. The missionaries believed that by bringing the Nicoleño to the mainland, they could offer them protection from further conflict and teach them Christianity. A schooner called Peor Esnada was dispatched to San Nicolas Island to transport the remaining Nicoleño to the mainland. Historical accounts suggest that during the evacuation, a major storm developed, and the ship was forced to depart in haste. In the chaos, Juana Maria was either left behind accidentally or chose to remain on the island. Some stories suggest that she stayed behind to search for a missing child or relative, while others say she hid to avoid being taken away. Whatever the exact reason, Juana Maria found herself alone on San Nicolas Island after the ship departed. No immediate efforts were made to rescue Juana Maria, as the storm made returning to the island difficult. Over time, the mainland population seemingly forgot about her. The Nicoleño, who had been relocated to the mainland, unfortunately, did not fare well. Many of them succumbed to diseases like smallpox and measles, and within a few years, the tribe had effectively been wiped out. With no surviving relatives or tribal members, Juana Maria was left as the last known Nicoleño. Juana Maria's life in isolation on San Nicolas Island from 1835 to 1853 is the most mysterious part of her story. She lived alone on an island that, while rich in resources, posed significant challenges for survival. Without any human companionship, she relied solely on the skills and knowledge passed down from her ancestors to keep herself alive. San Nicolas Island, though remote, had a variety of flora and fauna that could support human life. Archaeological evidence indicates that Juana Maria likely survived by hunting seals, fish, and birds, as well as gathering shellfish, roots, and edible plants. She built shelters from whale bones and used animal skins for clothing. The island had little fresh water, so she may have relied on rainwater collected in natural depressions or from small seasonal streams. Some sources also suggest she had access to food caches that had been left behind by her people before their departure. What's remarkable is that Juana Maria thrived under these harsh conditions for 18 years. She not only survived but managed to maintain her health, as evidenced by accounts of her appearance when she was eventually found. Her ability to craft tools and clothing from the island's resources speaks to the deep knowledge of her environment and the ingenuity she must have possessed. There were occasional sightings of a figure on San Nicolas Island over the years, and rumors circulated on the mainland about a wild woman living in isolation. However, it wasn't until 1853 that anyone seriously attempted to find and rescue her. In 1853, Captain George Nedever, a fur trapper and sea otter hunter, was leading an expedition to San Nicolas Island. Nedever had heard rumors of a woman living alone on the island, and, intrigued by the stories, he decided to investigate. Upon arriving on the island, Nedever and his men searched for any signs of life. To their surprise, they discovered Juana Maria living in a small, well-constructed hut made of whale bones. She was dressed in clothing she had fashioned from sealskin, and although she had been alone for nearly 2 decades, she appeared to be in good health and spirits. She greeted the men with joy, though she spoke in a language that none of them could understand. The language she spoke was believed to be that of the Nicoleño, which had largely been forgotten after the death of her people. Juana Maria was taken aboard Nedever's ship and transported to Santa Barbara, California. When she arrived on the mainland, she caused a sensation. Her story of survival captivated the imagination of the locals, and people marveled at how she had managed to live in complete isolation for so many years. However, Juana Maria's reintegration into society was difficult. No one could understand her language, and she was unable to communicate her experiences fully. Efforts were made to find someone who could translate for her, but by this time, the Nicoleño language had all but disappeared. Juana Maria's time on the mainland was tragically brief. Within 7 weeks of her rescue, she fell ill, most likely from dysentery or another disease. Having lived in complete isolation for so long, her immune system had no defense against the diseases that were common in mainland society. On October 19, 1853, Juana Maria passed away, and with her, the last living connection to the Nicoleño people was lost. Before her death, Juana Maria was baptized and given the Christian name Juana Maria. She was buried at the Santa Barbara Mission, where her grave can still be visited today. Despite her short time on the mainland, her story continued to captivate people for generations. In the years that followed, Juana Maria's story became the subject of historical research, archaeological investigations, and literary works. One of the most famous works inspired by her life is Scott Odell's Island of the Blue Dolphins, a fictionalized account of her time on San Nicolas Island. Published in 1960, the book brought her story to the attention of a wide audience, and it remains a beloved work of children's literature. Archaeological studies on San Nicolas Island have uncovered further evidence of Juana Maria's life there. In 1939, archaeologists found a whalebone hut, believed to have been her dwelling, as well as tools and other artifacts she likely used. These discoveries provide tangible proof of her remarkable ability to survive in isolation for nearly 2 decades. Thank you for watching this video. Hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more interesting videos.